Day, everybody. It is Calxiyn here, and I wanted to sit down and give you guys a Calxiyn channel update. I've still been posting fairly regularly, or at least I would say that it's pretty regular, but some of you guys may be wondering, like, where is Calxiyn lately? Or you may be wondering, where is Miraculous? Because I pretty consistently over the past couple of years reacted to Miraculous and it mysteriously disappeared. Or I said I was going to start uploading Arcane or Oshinoko. And in fairness, Arcane and Oshinoko are up on Patreon. I have receipts, but you still may be wondering like where I've been because it's been regular, but it's definitely not been how it was before. I don't know how ominously I've titled this video, but I promise it's nothing bad. I just wanted to sit down and talk with you all, and I have some exciting news to share. So I want to just get into it. This video is scripted and unscripted because I wanted to make sure that I remembered everything that I wanted to say, but I'm going to try to calm down. There's a lot of emotions going on right now. There's a lot of feelings and a lot of emotions, and so I don't know. It's gonna be, please bear with me. Please bear with me is what I'm asking, basically. So, I started writing this channel update about 2 weeks ago, but as of what I'm recording, I'm actually graduating this afternoon, and it's crazy because I'm like, as I wrote this, like at the time I'm writing this, it's crazy for me to type this, that's what I have in my script, but like, it's crazy for me to say that in the afternoon, I will literally be graduating from my performing arts program. So, for those of you that don't know or don't remember, I have graduated before. This isn't the first time it's happened. After high school, I went to university for a degree in professional communication with one minor in English and a different minor in philosophy. I specify this because sometimes English and philosophy is like a together situation. These weren't together. They were a minor in English and a minor in philosophy. And so it's important to me because instead of taking like half English, half philosophy, I had to take 6 English courses and 6 philosophy courses. You know what I mean? Very important to me that it's specified. Professional communication is anything from social media management or entrepreneurship or public relations for business or, crisis control for politicians, celebrities, just to give you an idea. So if a brand needs to put out an apology, that is your professional communications person is writing the apology with the help of a lawyer if that's necessary. But it doesn't even need to be like a crisis. It's just communication in general for business or for individuals. Maybe writing somebody's Instagram post for them if they're a celebrity and they don't do that sort of thing themselves. That's sort of the core of what professional communication is, but it was a very broad spectrum. Like I could work for a talent agency or I could work for, a company like a a toy company, like how my mom works at a toy company, like I could do their social media, or it could be like an entertainment company. Like it's not one specific thing. It was a very broad spectrum of stuff that I did there. But while I was at Ryerson, I was also running my YouTube channel, as I've always been. I've been running my YouTube channel literally since I was in high school, I think, like the very first year of high school. But yeah, while I was at Ryerson and running my YouTube channel, I was also auditioning for a bunch of different companies to perform as a character singer, but I never got any offers beyond like callbacks. Like sometimes I'd get a callback, but I wouldn't get a contract, and then I would just go to initial auditions and get cut, Like that's sort of the process. So I never got any offers, but, I went to auditions and then I got callbacks, and that was sort of the end of that. Some people don't realize this. Every time I post a song cover, people are surprised, but I've actually been taking professional singing coaching for over half my life now, and I've been doing community theater for around that same length of time. So now, as I'm graduating, which we'll get to in a minute, I would consider myself like a professional singer. I've been doing this for a long time, longer than I've had my YouTube channel, actually. But anyway, I digress. This is all connected. During my time at Ryerson, the pandemic happened. And like a lot of people, I'm sure that you guys went through this too if you were in school. Even if you were at work, people started working from home. We had school from home. And so my classes were at home, which I thought was great for me because my classes were lectures anyway. I don't think you ever really needed to be there, but who it wasn't great for was my sister, who started her university program as a dance major. So we have 2 years of university where we like both overlapped, if that makes sense, because we're 2 years apart. And so while I was in my 3rd year, she started her 1st year in university, and she is a dance major, and she's sort of doing this like hybrid situation where she's doing the dance programs, but also like business teaching courses at the same time. It's really cool, like how they're able to sort of do those two integrations together. But her being at home let me see what her classes were like. Because at my house, we have this giant like dance studio upstairs. And so what we did was we put in a giant TV up there so we could plug in our MacBooks and take our classes. At first, it was just for her classes because I wasn't doing anything physical. But basically, she would go upstairs into the dance room. She would plug her Mac in the TV, and then she would be able to see her teacher dancing, right? And actually see what's going on instead of having to look on a tiny screen to do these dance courses. And being able to see her classes from home made me realize that after 4 years at Ryerson, I wanted to go back to school, which felt insane because I was so like, yeah, I'm gonna be done, and then I'm gonna focus on YouTube full time. It's gonna be great. And then I saw her classes and I was like, actually, I want to go back, which was just an insane thing for me to think. But seeing her dance classes made me realize I want hands-on training like that. Like I have done, again, community theater and professional singing lessons for a long time, but I think that what's really holding me back, amongst other things, is that I was a very bad dancer. Like I had very bad coordination and was just very stiff and not very confident, right? And so I kept thinking about like what I was missing from all those auditions I went to, and now like looking back on it, I think that that was it. Like I was just so stiff, like not graceful, right? Seeing her dance classes, I was like, I think I could really use that. And not even just the dance classes, but I'm sure that there are ways in my singing and acting I can improve too. So after 4 years of school, finishing my pro-com degree, I decided like I'm gonna train for a couple months and do this like entrance exam for the school that I dream of going to, this musical theater program. And so I did all that. I graduated from Ryerson and then I got into the program. And so we are done with Ryerson, and then I got into Randolph, and it's Randolph College for the Performing Arts. That's where I did my musical theater program. And so that started in September 2021, and I can't articulate how grateful I am to have had the experience, and I may start to cry. I didn't wear any mascara, and I'm not wearing any mascara to grad because I think I'm gonna cry. We were practicing for our grad yesterday. We're singing When I Grow Up from Matilda, and I was like, when I grow up, like, and then I just started crying. It was terrible, but let's talk about Randolph for a little bit now. So I went to Ryerson, I got my university degree with 2 minors with distinction, and now I'm like, okay, time to do 2 more years of school, and we go straight through the summer. So it's a 3-year program in 2 years. That was the idea. So if you followed me on Twitter, you've probably seen me complain a lot, justifiably. I would say it was justified because I had to wake up at 5 a.m. pretty much every single day to be there for 8 a.m. dance class because I commute, you know, for financial reasons. Some of my classmates, I would say all of my classmates live downtown. I'm the only one that commutes this far. And so I would get up at 5 a.m. to be there for 8 a.m., to not get home some days until 6 p.m., 8 p.m., or even 10 p.m. Now, I did have days where I got home earlier, but if you've seen me complain about school, that's probably why. Sleep deprivation, not fun. But that was my choice. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't need to do that, but I needed to do that. Like, for my circumstances, I had to do that. So, you know, if you've seen me complain on Twitter, you're probably wondering, like, isn't Cal so glad she's done? Why is she crying? I saw her complain once a week about how tired she was all the time. But I will get to why it's not just complaints. You know what I mean? I will get to that. But, you know, I guess just to talk about some of the challenges, because I think that that's important to talk about too. Especially, I don't know, some of you guys may watch this and you may be interested in doing something similar. I don't know. So being someone with both autism and ADHD, there were a lot of challenges I faced just in general, like just in life. My whole life is a challenge, but like at Ryerson, I could make my schedule to best suit how I learn. I could sort of tuck away at the back of the class and play video games while taking notes at the same time, and none of my professors really cared because I was quiet. I got A's, which I think was important. Like, I did well. If I was failing, they may have had a problem. And I still would answer questions even if it looked like I wasn't paying attention. Like, I freaked out a couple professors by being like, on my Nintendo Switch and being like, yeah, actually, Socrates said that, like, you know what I mean? Like, just answering, like, when they thought that they were catching me not listening to them, I kind of schooled them. It was kind of funny, but, like, that's just how it works for me. I need to do other things and listen at the same time, right? And so at Ryerson, what I would do is I would like pack in all of my classes, all 5 classes that we had to take onto 2 days or sometimes 3 days, depending. And then I would have all the other time and then I would, you know, do my YouTube stuff. But at Randolph, things were different because we were all on the same schedule. And so there was no like schedule manipulation. Like I became a master at manipulating my Ryerson schedule. So I would get like 4 days off a week and everybody would be like, what the heck? Like, how did you do that? But at Randolph, that's not possible because we all had the same classes. And most of the days were incredibly long. And I already mentioned this because I commuted to school. That was hard. But with this program in particular, it's sort of hard to explain, and I don't think that, like, if you don't have ADHD or autism, I don't think that you'll quite understand, but you constantly feel like you have to mask your own behavior because some of the stuff that you do to help you focus is rude. Everything I do is seen as rude all the time. And if you're anything like me, you've probably experienced that too. Like just like doodling is rude or like, you know, fidgeting with stuff is rude. And eventually I got fidget toys, so I was like allowed to do something, but for me, I don't know, I need a little bit more than that, so it kind of helped, but like it kind of didn't, like it still didn't help, and there were other things as well, but anyway, memorizing things was literally hell, because for some reason I'm great at memorizing my songs, but dance is just super difficult to me, and other people have muscle memory. I'm convinced I don't. Like, I'm convinced I don't have muscle memory. My mom's like, well, if you practice, like, it'll get better. I don't think that it's true. Like, I have to send a command to my brain every single time I do a new physical movement. Not like when I'm gesticulating too much, but even doing the musical, which I guess we'll get to, this is all kind of out of order, but like, even during the musical, every single night, I still have to be like, I need to move my hand here and do this, like, all the time, you know? I got better at remembering the order of the steps, but there still was no muscle memory. But yeah, that was the hard part, was remembering the order of the steps or being able to, you know, recall the steps on the fly, but actual muscle memory where you can just zone out and do the thing and like disassociate and your body dances but your mind is elsewhere, like that was never a thing for me. Some people can do that, I can't. So I just struggled with a lot of stuff because even memorizing monologues and stuff for some reason was really hard. Now I've sort of figured out how to do it, but the first couple weeks I sort of felt incompetent because I was like, oh, this comes so easy to everyone else, and I am literally struggling for seemingly no reason, you know, except for the fact that I have ADHD and I'm autistic, but anyway. And, you know, there were other things just socially, stuff like that, right? You know, there were a lot of struggles in that regard too, and living so far away while other people live with each other, like it's just one of those things where, I mean, at Ryerson it was also hard to make friends for that reason, but here it was also hard for that reason, like to live so far and to sort of be like, yeah, like if you invite Kaylin, she's probably not gonna come because she has to go home and like go to sleep at some point, right? So balancing all those things was really, really difficult. And I'm sure that there are other things too that are bigger than like the focus thing that I can't necessarily articulate, but like, you'll understand if you've ever been looked at as the problem. Like if a teacher has ever looked at you and like they kind of, I don't know, like they think that you're gonna be a problem in some way, or they think that like you're not trying as hard as everyone else when you are, like, it's a hard thing to pinpoint what exactly, but like, I don't know, sometimes I felt that way. Sometimes I just felt like the eyes were on me in the wrong way for those things and more other things. Just like, I guess, other weird habits or like things that I do or things like that. But anyway, the challenge is over. It wasn't traumatizing or anything. I'm still here. I'm still happy that I did it, but yeah, all of those things were definitely challenging, and I'm sure I'll edit this part up a little bit to make a little more sense. But at the same time, so there's masking, right? And there's masking going on because it's like, oh, well, I have to act this way and I need to make sure I don't do these weird things and I need to make sure that I'm always like looking like I'm paying attention and I'm engaged because I am engaged, even though it may not look like that I am. So like masking behavior. If you guys don't know what masking, I probably should have started that too. If you guys don't know what masking is, it's oppressing certain behaviors other people may think are weird. So like some people like will shake their leg and stuff, like Hunter does that all the time. If you watch our other videos and things like that, like fidgeting with things and anyway. And so it's not just that, like it's not just masking fidgeting behaviors, but it can be other things too. And so on one hand, there is masking, because I'm in this new space with new people and I want to make a good impression, and these teachers are actually in the industry and I don't want to make a bad impression on them, so I'm trying so hard to be normal. But then the other thing is that the school, like the actual classes that we had to do, were an attempt to undo every other element of autistic masking that I have, because like there's so much within me that when I sang for the longest time, I would sing like this. Like even though you guys see I'm a very gestury person, like, and I think it's natural, it's Italian, I don't know. Like I gesture a lot when I talk on camera, I'm very expressive in our videos, but this doesn't really translate IRL. It's like this is the one space where I do it, but everywhere else I'm like, right? You know, there's something wired in my brain that's like, don't talk with your hands, don't talk too loudly, always be polite. And I think that it was the always be polite because it was something like don't be noticed, never be noticed, never be seen, almost. Like always stay in the background, don't make a spectacle of yourself, right? That sort of 20 years, it was like be as small and as quiet as possible. And not necessarily like by my parents or whatever, like it wasn't that, but it was just more, you know, in general, like school and teachers and classmates and whatever. Like I kind of remember, like you vaguely know when you started to be aware of it, but there comes a point where you realize like, oh, you need to kind of like rein in all these aspects of yourself because everybody else finds you annoying. And I can remember exactly like when like that sort of expression was stifled, you know? And so, you know, at school, they had to undo all of that because the whole point of acting is not to be small and not noticed. It is to be noticed, right? And a lot of our classes, we were doing like completely ridiculous things that if I explained them to you, it would just, I don't think I can. And I would get frustrated because I couldn't just let go. Like we would act like animals sometimes, or like make noise for just an hour, like primal noises, like for like an hour. And like, I don't know, we were supposed to just be, we were supposed to let go, we were supposed to feel and I don't know. Like those were always my biggest notes, to let go, to be more exaggerated, get carried away. And that was really difficult because you're fighting against this wall that's been built up of not to do any of those things ever. So yeah, we had these classes where we had to be basically completely ridiculous, and I was just like, ugh, like I don't know how to be completely ridiculous. I don't know how to do this, at least not in front of other people. And so a lot of the time it kind of felt like a square cube in a round hole situation. Like I always felt like I was giving my best and it wasn't quite good enough. And there was a point in every single semester where I would just break down entirely, like stay home from school for a day or two and just like quit. Like it was like, I don't want to say broke, like I guess break down. I don't mean break down like mentally. I just mean like break down like as if something mechanical finally like breaks down and you have to fix it. You know what I mean? Like there would be a point where I was like, I just can't do this anymore, I guess. And I would just like, kind of like system shut down, you know what I mean? And so every single semester, there was a point where I would want to quit. And it kind of got into sunk cost fallacy eventually because it's so funny how I know, and I appreciate the fact that my mom didn't let me quit, but it's also funny how, psychologically manipulative she is, because in a loving way, right? Because she's like, oh, you know, just try another semester, see if you like it, you know, like maybe next semester it'll be better. And then by the time we were at the midway point, it was, but you're already halfway done, you're so close, right? So at first it was, just keep going and see if you like it. And then by the time I was like, no, I don't think I like this actually, she was like, well, it's too late. It's too late to quit now. But I'm glad I didn't quit. I can't stress that enough, that I'm really glad I didn't quit, even though there were all those times that I wanted to, because I feel like that, first of all, there were days that were good, that I didn't want to quit, that I really enjoyed what we were doing. You know, like the days that were hard, I think, make up a very small percentage. But even outside of that, you know, thinking about the days that were difficult, I feel like that because of that, you know, I am at a place where I'm finally able to let go. Like, not just of nerves. I never really got nervous at auditions and like performing in front of hundreds of people. Like, what I get nervous about is when I can see the audience, like in class, you know, performing in front of like 20 people and being able to look into their eyes. Like, I don't get stage anxiety. I don't like when I can see the people that are seeing me anxiety. Like, that's the anxiety, right? And so I never got nervous in that way, but I feel like that in order to perform in front of hundreds of people effectively, you need to be able to be yourself in front of those 20 people looking at you. And that's what they were able to help me let go of. Because like I said, even though I didn't get nervous singing in front of hundreds of people, I was still like this, because that's how I had been taught. And I wouldn't want to gesture in front of like my vocal teacher because I can make direct eye contact with her. And it was like, oh, I don't want to look silly in front of her. You know what I'm saying? And so even though I never got nervous performing in front of hundreds of people, the nerves of having to act a certain way around even one person stopped me from getting into my body in terms of going on to perform in front of those people, right? Because you can't, you know, make acting decisions in practice if you're not willing to do them in front of like your teachers. Like, you know what I mean? You're not able to go do that on stage if you never practice doing it in front of your coaches and stuff like that. Never practice getting into the emotions and things, right? And so I feel like that it just helped me be able to let go in general. Like, I feel like that, you know, when I go into auditions, I'll be able to let go. When I perform in front of smaller audiences, I'll be able to let go. Especially because for the musical that we just did, we could see everybody. Like, we were literally, like, there was a small stage, but then our show was, like, in the aisles, like, on the floor, because our director wanted it to be immersive. Like, I could look into everybody's eyes. Eventually, you kind of have to get used to that sort of thing, right? To see the people that are seeing you. And so I was finally able, I think, now I'm able to let go, and I'm in a place where I'm able to let go now. And I also think too that being at the school just made me more creative and expressive and a more confident person. Like, you know, people that have known me for years, like Hunter and Arnold, like, I think that they were a little surprised watching me in the musical, because they're like, they've never seen me do all that before. You know, they've never seen me give it my all like that, I think, and like get into those characters before and kind of look silly and ridiculous in front of an audience. And I think I just finally got over the idea, like, oh, I'll look stupid, right? Because they kind of, you know, I don't want to say they beat that out of us, because beat has a very, like, negative connotation, but they really did, like squeeze that out of us. I think that's better. Like, any idea of embarrassment, like, none of us have any shame now. I'm so serious. But moving on. Even though it's a school for acting and singing and dancing, in order to act, inevitably, we needed to talk about storytelling and directing. And so I think that out of everything, the experience made me realize I want to be a director or a writer a lot more than a performer. Like, I still want to perform and I still want to do that, but I like molding the story into being. Like, I liked watching my professors direct other people, and I found that more fascinating than actually performing, you know? Everybody wants to get up and everybody wants to perform, but I actually liked watching my directors direct other people, and then that way I could get ideas for what I was doing. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but like, everyone's so eager to go up there and like sing or something, but I wanted to, but I actually enjoyed kind of sitting and watching and being like, wow, like, that's so interesting how they're changing how this person is delivering the song and the emotions and how they're directing them. And so I just found that very fascinating. And all of the discussions into storytelling and story crafting got me into writing again, which I haven't done in years. I wrote 2 fan fictions during Randolph. I think one I started in term 2, and then the other one I started in term 5. is I think when I started. And so I started writing again, which is, you know, pretty cool if you guys read my fan fiction. With my musicianship skills increasing, it got me interested in songwriting, and we'll talk more about that later. It's made me a better performer, I think, but it's also made me a better storyteller, and overall just gave me you know, the confidence to be as expressive as I am in my videos, because I have never gotten a comment in my videos where people are like, Cal, you're too quiet, I can't hear you, you know? Or like, that Calxiyn girl, you know, is very neutral, she's not expressive at all. Like, in fact, I would say it's the opposite. I get comments that I'm too loud, that I'm annoying, or that I talk too much, and like, you never get that in real life, like, at least with me, like, no one's ever told me in real life that, you know, like, that I'm being too loud. No one's ever said that. And so I think it's just funny, like, the difference, right? You would never think that I'm not a loud person judging by our content, but I think that now it's definitely given me the confidence to be the person I am in my videos in front of other people to a degree, right? Or at least as a performer. And I think it gave me a different mindset about my channel too, because I feel like our videos are better now since I came here, even though, you know, frequency and consistency was kind of like, right? But like, you know, I just behind the scenes think like, what is the story of this video? What is the arc we're building here? And that's sort of like whatever when we talk about news and stuff, like news is informative content, but when it comes to entertainment content, like, you know, with those Barbie videos that Hunter and I have been doing, like in the back of my head, I'm like, well, here's the character arc. You have Hunter who, you know, doesn't like, or, you know, didn't grow up with all these girly things, and then by the end of the video, she'll probably like the thing. Like, that is the story, right? You know, and it's not that we're manufacturing that. It's not that Hunter's lying when she says that she actually likes them and, like, behind the scenes she doesn't, but, like, I'm thinking of the story arc. Like, that is the story arc of this video. We open with doubt, and then by the end, it's like the heroic triumph of the Barbie game, like Barbie has won, you know? And so, just thinking about those things as well. So all of that being said, this is getting a lot longer than I thought it was going to. But like I said, I have a lot of feelings, and, you know, we should talk about it, because I don't know, I mean, obviously, I'll talk about it probably in streams and stuff if people have questions, but like, this is the video to talk about it. But all that being said, I can't believe it's over. The other night, I was talking to Arnold after he and Hunter came to watch me, and I actually started to cry because I realized that after today, everybody that I've been with for the past 2 years is gonna go away. Like, those are the exact words I use. Everyone's gonna go away, which feels like such like a childish way to say it, you know, but like, it was like, everyone's gonna disappear. Right? And, you know, we're all gonna stay in touch, but ultimately, you know, there are people at this school from everywhere, like from different provinces, even from like different countries, right? Like, some people are from the US and other places, and so we're all going home, except for me. I was always home, is what I always like to say. But yeah, you know, I wish that we had gotten more time almost. Like, I wish that maybe we were able to do 2 musicals instead of just 1, but it's one of those things. I feel like that this is true probably if you, again, like, are either of the things that I mentioned before. I find I finally get into the rhythm and then it's gone. You know what I mean? Like, you finally get it, and then you get it a little later than everyone else, and by the time you get it, it's already over, you know? And that's sort of how I feel, especially with the musical. I was like, oh, I'm finally getting into the rhythm. Like, I'm finally getting into this. Oh, it's already over, you know? And so I don't know if that's just a me thing, but that's how I feel like with a lot of stuff. Like, I finally start to like feel like, oh, I'm fitting in, and I'm opening up to my classmates and stuff like that, and I'm finally like, I finally got it. You know, I finally felt like after our panels, which was basically our like exam before we started the musical, and we did our like mock audition, where it's basically like everything that you've been doing the past 2 years, show it to someone. Like, that was our big exam, you know, show it to an audition panel. And after that, that's when I felt like, oh, like, I got it. Like, I felt so confident in this. I was so proud of what I showed. I actually belong here. And then it's like, okay, well, anyway, now we're doing a musical and we're not working on any of that material ever again, you know? And so, but then during the musical, I was struggling, and then by the time I stopped struggling, it was already over, you know? But I also think the beauty of some things is that they don't last forever, and it's funny because I record all my reactions and I'm able to keep those memories forever, and I'm always able to go back to it, you know? Like sometimes I don't remember certain things clearly and I'm like, oh, I don't remember my reaction to this in Kingdom Hearts. Let's just go look at it, you know? Kingdom Hearts 3, like stuff I've recorded or previous Ruby volumes that we have on record, right? Like a lot of my life has been chronicling those things, has been keeping records of those things, and like all of these moments are there forever. And it's so interesting because with the show, the only people that will know that we did it are the people that came to see it, and also the people that I did it with. And so it's sort of our private memory that nobody else can have access to. And even though I still, you know, I like recording all my reactions and stuff, I like having those things forever, it's just different and it's interesting. Like it's just a different sort of feeling. And it's a very bittersweet sort of feeling because we don't have like a recording or anything of it either. And, you know, at the end of the show, this is when I started crying last night. There's a line at the end. We did Urinetown, by the way, if you guys didn't get that already, by all the piss jokes that I made on Twitter and like my community posts and like all the other times that it was mentioned in videos the past couple months. Anyway, so in Urinetown, little Sally says, like, Officer Lockstock, can we do a happy musical next time? And the narrator, who's also Lockstock, says, if there is a next time, little Sally, I'm sure we can. And, like, that really got to all of us because there's not gonna be a next time. We can't do a happy musical next time because this is the last time that I'm gonna be with all the same people I was with. Like, even though I may work with some of them in the future, there probably will never be a time where all 40 of us, or how many of us there are, all 40 of us will be together again. And despite wishing that I had been able to get better, right? Like, oh, I wish I got better faster. I'm still proud, I think I'm still proud of how much I've been able to change in a short period of time, because it has only been 2 years. And even though we can't keep things the way that they were forever, the change is permanent. And it sort of reminds me, there was a Camp episode that released recently, actually, and that's what made me think of this. But David says, like, you know, something to the effect of, like, actually, like, I'm not gonna be, like, toxically positive. Like, Max is like, you know, every day could, like, your next day could be terrible. And he expects David to say, oh, but you're gonna say each day could be great, and we just don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Max takes the negative position where every day after leaving camp could be awful, and he thinks that David is gonna be like, every day after leaving camp could be beautiful, right? And so I think that what's interesting about that episode is David is like, I'm not actually gonna say that. All I'm gonna say is that no matter what happens, all I'm hoping is that you're able to take the memories here and take that with you for the good or bad days. And I thought that subverted that expectation quite well. And that's sort of how I feel about this. It's like, you know, there's no record, but hopefully we'll take what we did together in the past 2 weeks, and then also just the past 2 years, we'll be able to take that with us. And the way that we're changed is permanent, even though there's no record of what happened and all of the crazy shit that we did in class all the time. The change is the permanent record, almost. Like, how we've been changed by it is at least what we get to take with us onto the next thing. That being said, what's next? That was such a perfect segue. I did not script that at all. That being said, like, what now, right? And this has been a question on my mind for a while, especially as nosy family members ask every time they see me what my plans are after school. Like, you know, what are your plans after school is done? And I'm like, yeah, the plans are the same as the plans the last time you saw me 4 weeks ago. Like, it's not like, you know what I mean? It's not like they haven't seen me in years and they're wondering what I'm doing. Like, yeah, you asked me this a month ago when you saw me at Easter or whatever. I know Easter was like 6 months ago now, but I'm just saying, like, I see my relatives often enough that they shouldn't ask this much, but yet they do. And it's funny because you never hear people ask this to family members who go to school for, like, accounting. no one is ever like, so what are you gonna do after accounting school every 4 months? Like, everyone just knows you're gonna go be an accountant. So it's when you're an artist, right, that there are sort of these backhanded questions about what you're gonna do next. You know, like, everybody, it's funny because everybody's like waiting to see whether you fail or succeed. They're not like praying for your downfall or something, but like, you know what I mean? They're just like waiting in the wings, trying to see whether or not you can hack it. I'm not saying this is never a genuine question. It really depends on the tone. But if you guys have been through this, I'm sure you understand what I mean, right? Like, so what are you gonna do with your musical theater degree, right? Like, it can come off as condescending sometimes. Anyway, but what are we going to do, since you asked? This brings me to the future of the channel. I have been creating videos on Calxiyn for almost 10 years, and I don't plan to stop anytime soon. If people clicked on this video expecting a hiatus announcement, those who prayed for my downfall, you lost. It's actually the opposite. I want to ramp things up to unprecedented levels, and this plan hinges on me not getting a performance contract, at least for the rest of 2023. Like, if I get a contract that's based outside of Toronto, things are gonna get complicated. That's gonna need its own video, but I'm hoping that for the rest of at least 2023, I will be here, and I will just be here. It would be nice. It would be nice. I am going to be auditioning for the same companies I wanted to audition to and I did audition to before Randolph, but I want to work on my channel in a full-time capacity. I have never been able to do that because all of my Calxiyn stuff has revolved around a high school schedule or a university schedule or a university squared schedule. You know what I mean? Like, it's never been like full-time. I've never been able to go full-time. I've had a month of full-time, maybe, or like, you know, a couple weeks of full-time, but I've never had a long stretch of like, this is the only thing that I have to focus on. And I just feel like that I can get to the full-time level that my friends are at, like Arnold, or, you know, a semblance of sanity, right? If I was able to be consistent, because I'm always behind. When the newest thing comes out, I'll be like, I'll have to do that someday because I didn't have the time, you know? Like, new anime came out, Oshinoko came out, and I was like, wow, I would love to do that. Anyway, right, I'm obviously reacting to it now, but I'm technically late, right? Like, all these new things, I wasn't able to do those things or give those things my full commitment. And even in just the past couple months, ever since Ruby ended, I've had no time to edit with our new schedule. Like, since we started the musical, since we started 6th term, like, I think since around May has been my worst time for posting. You know what I mean? Because even previously, it wasn't that bad. Like, even when I first started Randolph, it wasn't that bad. It has got into unprecedented levels of inconsistency. And I'm very sorry about that, but I'm also not sorry, because what was I supposed to do? You know what I mean? I had no other choice. But all that to say, I want to start creating the content that I've always wanted to make, that I've been trying to make, and I just couldn't, like, juggle it all. And so I hope that we'll start posting again soon, and I'll talk about that. But yeah, I would like to mention, if you guys want to support us when we start posting again, you can check our Patreon for early access, exclusive access to reactions and stuff. That is the best way to support our channel going forward. I don't mean to have like a Patreon advertisement, but it's also in the middle of a 42-minute video. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? It wasn't at the beginning, but I will say, you know, to go full time, it's going to depend on YouTube ad revenue and Patreon, right? And so I'm gonna do my best to provide like a reason, like, to earn that support, but that's also the only way that it's going to happen as well. And so I think that that's important to mention. It's a two-way thing. Like, I'm never going to expect people to pledge for nothing, you know? And so I'm going to do my best to put out like all of that stuff on Patreon and start doing early access again and earn that support there. So yeah, that's just my thing about Patreon. I never stopped. Like I said, there is stuff on Patreon for exclusive and early access right now, but I am gonna be ramping it up a bit. And so if you do want to support the channel, that's how it's going to happen. But this brings me to the rest of 2023. This is like my pitch now. Like, I've just, I've talked about what's been going on, and now I'm like, I want to go full time, or I'm gonna try to go full time. And you're probably sitting there like, well, why should I? Like, why should I support you going full time? So like, this is basically my plan now for the rest of the year. This is almost like my little business pitch of what I'm gonna be doing, why you should, buy Calxiyn stock or whatever. But my key goals for the year are recovery, restoration, and rest. And I love all that alliteration going on. So as you guys are seeing this video, probably by the time it's edited, I will be taking a short break to go up to the cottage with Arnold for a few days as a post-graduation celebration, self-care, relaxing. I have done 8 shows in the past week, and I had sung in almost every single number. You guys can kind of tell that even just recording this, my voice is going. So I need to rest. And I have my graduation later on, so I really do need to rest. But let's talk about things month by month. So during August, my plan is recovery. And by recovery, I don't just mean me, though I could use it. I do need it. But I also literally mean recovering all the series that sort of mysteriously stopped being posted or that I put on pause. And that means looking through my spreadsheets, looking through my documents, trying to figure out where everything went, things that I had planned that went unfinished, things that never made it to recording, things that did get recorded but went unedited. So it's recovering everything I have and organizing it so I can make plans for future content and finishing what we already started. Because I have scripts that we never recorded, I have videos that never got edited, there's certain series that they're in the depths of hiatus, right? Fishing certain series Twisted Wonderland and Oshinoko and Arcane and Miraculous out from the bottom of the ocean and bringing them back onto the ship, right? And so there are a lot of different things that will entail. A lot of it is going to be editing the things I already have, but it is basically going to be recovery. I'm not going to ramp things up to 11 quite yet. I'm just going to figure out what I have, what needs to get done, and start working on all the forgotten backlog, I guess you could say. And there's also some video commissions that I need to get done before I go to Arnold's house, because in September, I'll be staying with Arnold for a month after we go on a cruise at the beginning of September. So in the month of August, I want to finish Arcane. I want to record some stuff with Hunter and finish off those commissions. The commissions, I think, are my top priority at the very, I can record Arcane or Oshinoko in Arnold's office. It's not a big deal, but I do want to finish all of those things here, ideally. And then in September will be the restoration month. And so this is where things get a little less clear, because I've never been able to edit during the day. I've never done 9 to 5 editing. Even before Randolph, this was the case, but even since starting at Randolph, I've never been able to edit more than twice a week unless we had our month off. And most of the time, those months off were also used to pre-record a lot of content or play catch-up. All of my life has been playing catch-up. There has never been a time where I have been caught up. And even August still feels like playing catch-up to all of the things that Hunter and I have recorded for the past 6 months that never made it out. If you remember how Cyberpunk was released, Cyberpunk was playing catch-up, because at first I had an editor who promised to edit it, and then they didn't. And they didn't edit, and they ghosted me, and then I had to edit them all, and that's why it took so long for those to come out. And they sort of came out in a very strange, bizarre little way. So August is going to be recovering all of the things and finishing them off and polishing them off. And then in September, I'm going to start editing through the backlog I have. Now, I'm assuming it's not going to take an entire month to edit through the Oshinoko and Arcane backlog. And Twisted Wonderland will probably never be done because it's a live service game, and so there will always be Twisted Wonderland to record. But in the month of September, I want to record Miraculous Ladybug, hopefully at Arnold's house. I want to get back to streaming Twisted Wonderland and then do some things with Arnold that we plan to record. We can only do this while we're together. Some of that may be streaming, stuff that's streamed and then edited later sort of situation. And so yeah, August is catch-up month. Is sort of collecting all the things and then bringing all the things to Arnold's house. And then September is actually when those things will hopefully start to be posted and it'll get into a regular rhythm. Hopefully. I'm hoping that September, I'll start posting Arcane and Oshinoko on the YouTube channel, is the idea. And then I'll start to get into a rhythm, and I'll be able to start to understand how much I can edit per day, and that'll influence my choices for later. And so that's basically September. September's like kind of a half still playing catch-up situation, because there is a lot to catch up on, right? And so that's just how it has to be, I think. By the time we reach October, I'm sort of hoping there will be no more play and catch-up. I don't know if that's too optimistic. With Twisted Wonderland, like I already mentioned, since it's a live service game, I think that I'll never quite finish the VODs, until the game stops, being live service. I don't know if I'll ever be able to catch up, but in terms of just in general, I'm hoping that by October, the ecosystem will rebalance itself. Like, I don't know, the pH balance, that's horrible, of the YouTube channel will balance itself out. By the time we reach October, I'm hoping that everything can start to be rebalanced, because even like Oshinoko, Arcade, and Miraculous at the same time, I think is a little too reaction heavy still compared to games. I mean shows, I guess I should say. Like ideally, I want to put this rule of 2s into place in terms of uploading. A live service game, a non-live service game, a new weekly releasing anime, and an older show, and then 2 other things. So like Ruby Theories or playing the Barbie games with Hunter, like 2 other things, 2 shows and 2 games. And that doesn't mean 6 uploads a week per se, but rather only handling 6 slots at any given time. So this also means I'd like to stream at least twice a week, like Twisted Wonderland as the live service game, and then, something else as the non-live service game. And I'd also like to continue streaming things that aren't edited, like how we did Needy Streamer Overload. The general rule, and I had this rule even before, you guys may have noticed already, but the rule is, if it's like Persona or Kingdom Hearts where there's story-heavy cutscene content, it gets edited. If it doesn't have that, like Cult of the Lamb, Cult of the Lamb has a story, but you guys understand what I mean. Like Cult of the Lamb or Needy Streamer Overload, stuff like that, those games won't necessarily be edited. And there are some games that fall into a weird sort of space, like The Witcher and stuff, just because The Witcher's so long, and I feel like that would be a real pain in the ass for me to edit, but, I still want to provide an edited experience for you guys, because I do think, there's a certain contract that you have with your audience, in a sense, and like the Calxiyn contract has been for edited reaction content, whether it's to a game or something else, edited content, right? And so like Hunter and I will stream occasionally, and those won't necessarily be edited, but I don't want to flood stuff with VODs, basically. I would prefer not to flood with VODs from my Twitch channel and stuff, because I think that you guys do deserve the polish of editing to some degree. For other games that are more focused on the gameplay, I feel less of a need to do that editing, like again, Needy Streamer Overload and stuff like that, but I think for the other stuff I mentioned, I do think that editing is sort of necessary, or I find it necessary. I want to provide a good experience, and I don't necessarily know if just reposting the unedited VOD on my YouTube channel, at least this YouTube channel, is the way to go with that. I am still going to stream on Calxiyn with Hunter, but I want to kind of throw that out there, is that when I do stream a game, I do want it to be kind of story focused and edited, because it's not that Calxyn's a reaction channel, but like it kind of is. It kind of is, and so I still want to provide like an edited, polished experience as opposed to just reposting VODs, right? And now that YouTube has the video tab versus the live tab, I think that separation is easier, but anyway. So assuming that September will have semi-regular streams at Arnold's house, by the time that we reach October, I do want regular streaming, recording, and editing schedule. Like I do want to finally get into a, whatever that looks like, a regular schedule. And in terms of stuff that's not anything that I already mentioned, I would like to bring back the Calxiyn podcast, because I miss it. I miss doing the podcast with Hunter. It sort of stopped. Okay, here's what happened. It was attached to a Patreon goal. Patreon took goals away, which makes things sort of awkward, because we had a lot of stuff that was tied to a Patreon goal, and for some reason they were like, no one cares about this. I cared about it. I loved the goal system. They took it away. So now I guess the podcast will just be attached to something else. I don't know. But yeah, they took the goal system away in Patreon, which also dictated how many videos we would post per month, like in terms of like extra videos, and we had like D&D campaign goals on Patreon. But anyway, and so I'd like to bring back the Calxiyn podcast unattached to Patreon goals, and also start some like manga reacting analysis videos. Like, I'm not sure entirely how we're gonna do that, but I've seen other YouTubers do it, and I think that I can manage it while keeping in mind fair use and stuff. Most of this is inspired by the Promised Neverland Season 2. Like, I never got to see the true story of the Promised Neverland, so I'd like to do some type of manga reaction, but I'm not entirely sure. Again, I have seen other YouTubers do it, so I think I'll figure it out, but, you know, those are just the other things on my mind, other than games and anime and, like, the stuff that we did before. Like, those are sort of the new or, like, other things that have been on my mind. But ideally, this is what I want the status quo to be. Like, I want to get into the regular rhythm of this sort of schedule. I want to see how that goes. And if I'm able to, I'll do more. But after getting a handle on the Calxiyn channel, I'd also like to start uploading to the video essay channel that I alluded to back in June. It is up and everything, but, like, it just hasn't started to be posted on yet, just because I haven't had time, and I would like to start that. And the reason for moving the video essays on another channel is just solely because I post such a variety of content on the Calxiyn channel. I feel like the video essays sort of deserve its own space, where if somebody, like, clicks on it, they can see that all there is video essays, instead of, like, there's also a reaction to, like, The Witcher in here. Don't know why I keep talking about The Witcher, but you know what I mean? Like, I want kind of a separate space for the video essays, just so they can thrive. And so, because that's how YouTube kind of works, right? Like, if you watch a bunch of videos from one creator in succession, it's like, oh, this channel's really good and high quality, and always posts sort of the same thing, right? That's kind of how YouTube works now. And so you'll notice, like, a lot of channels only sort of do one thing, if that makes sense. Like, Game Theory's just Game Theory, and then they have Film Theory somewhere else, whereas my channel's like, if you were to do Game Theory and Film Theory in the same place, you probably could do it, but it has less of an effect, right? So the video essays, I kind of want to give them their own chance, you know? So as our director for the musical says, let's pretend that all went well. That's when we didn't figure anything out, or when we didn't have something figured out yet, that's what he would say. Like, let's pretend that all went well. So let's say, at the very least, by October, I'm uploading regularly. I finished the anime series that I already recorded, probably starting some new ones. I'm playing some new games. I can't say entirely what 2024 will have in store. I think that's a little crazy. I'm just trying to get through the rest of the year, but I do, again, want to take the opportunity I have now to create the content that I have made, that I've always wanted to make, with more consistency and more energy. Just being able to give it my all and give it that full-time polish. I will mention, though, a couple things, alluding to next year, I guess. I will mention, I have had an interest in starting a VTuber project for quite some time. I'm hoping that if I do YouTube and streaming full-time, and if everything goes well, I'll be able to get the VTuber models commissioned. I have been saving for a long time. Unfortunately, I found out that the artist I wanted to commission is in euros, and the Canadian dollar compared to euros is trash. And so I may need to find another artist, but anyway, that's a whole other story. I have been saving for this, like, before, like, a long time ago. But yeah, I did want to mention that I do have a VTuber project that's, like, I don't know, it's kind of almost ready to go, except for the models, which is the most important part. And as I mentioned before, like, this sort of happened during Randolph. Like, Randolph gave me a renewed interest in storytelling, and around this time I found Hololive and stuff, so I do have a story I want to tell through VTubing as a medium that hasn't really been done in the industry quite yet, at least that I know of. I have a very specific vision, and I've never seen anyone do this before, and so it makes me very excited. I hope that I'm able to do it sometime, and I feel more confident in my ability. I think that's the important part, is that I feel more confident in my ability to tell that story now, being at Randolph. And I will also mention that recently I found a composer that I quite enjoy working with, and so if he's available when the time comes, hopefully there will be original music written for that VTuber project, because I do have the lyrics to like one full song ready and just not the composition yet. And so I do want to get the models first before we, you know, get into music and everything like that. But I do have that project in mind, and I want to stream things on there, ideally, that I wouldn't necessarily stream on the Calxiyn channel. And like, when we get there, I'll sort of explain that. But I guess games that don't have a reaction heavy element, like this is a terrible example, but like League. I will never play the like League on the Calxiyn channel because it's not a story heavy experience, you know what I mean? But maybe on the VTuber channel I would hop on and play League. But I have a very specific vision for the VTubers activities. League may not be part of it, but it's going to be sort of regular gaming streams with a twist. That's all I'll say. There's a twist, a story-based twist, and using the story of the games to influence the story of the project. Kind of like, imagine like Kingdom Hearts, but the VTubers go into the worlds of the games. It's kind of like, it has that sort of vibe. And so yeah, I'll leave that where it is. But, you know, I've been talking for almost an hour, so I will leave you with a cryptic piece of information because we've talked about all my other plans. However, there's one plan that I didn't mention yet. And so speaking of original music, I am happy to announce that I am working on a Ruby-inspired fan song, and if this project is successful and there's interest in producing more, I would like to expand the project. I probably wouldn't make a separate Patreon for it. It would probably just be like, if you want to support the project, go to the Patreon I already have. It's not like a Ruby rewrite thing, but like, you know, it would kind of have the same, like, I don't know, system as some of the Ruby rewrites that people support through Patreon and stuff. Like, that would sort of be the idea. I would create some new tiers and stuff that directly relate to the project as opposed to my already existing Calxiyn channel. And so the song is composed. Fox Alistair is being cast as we speak, and it's gonna be very, very exciting. So look out for that. That will just be uploaded to the Calxiyn channel. I don't think I'm gonna make a separate channel for that because at the end of the day, it is Ruby related. And so I hope that you guys will look forward to that. But that's the only other announcement that I have. That's the other thing that you can expect for the rest of 2023 is some possibly multiple, but probably just one, a Ruby-inspired fan song, and hopefully a animatic to go with that. And so that is everything I have to say, I think. Oh my god, we've been talking for an hour. I cannot believe that. That's kind of crazy. This script is only 5 pages. What happened? But like I said, I'm losing my voice. I have to graduate this afternoon. So thank you all for your continued support, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!